Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham Giason Matthews, and throughout all of December and January, we're breaking down every installment of the Royal Rumble that I did not talk about this past year, including, I won't go through all the installments, but we're going to be breaking down a lot of shows from now until Royal Rumble weekend, a month and a half from now. So speaking of such, today we're talking about Royal Rumble 1991, kicking off the show, one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen, period. Not just in Royal Rumble history from the shows that I've seen so far, but a phenomenal tag team match pitting the Rockers against the Orient Express. And I don't really know or didn't know much about the Orient Express before watching this show, but they got a lot of great time, almost 20 minutes to kick off the show. In the end, it was the Rockers pulling out the victory. A lot of exhilarating and exciting action here, and they had the right winners with the Rockers going over. And unfortunately, the momentum didn't really go anywhere. It got them a match at WrestleMania, I believe, but the Rockers had broken up just a year later. How they never got a tag team title run is beyond me, but still, an awesome match, kick off the show, and really kind of set the stage for the rest of this pay-per-view. After that, Big Bossman versus the Barbarian. A standard singles match, that's really all that I could say about it. I didn't really get excited about really anything about in this match. The Barbarian and Big Bossman didn't really work too well together. Neither of them were really the greatest workers to begin with, and you put the big man versus big man dynamic, and that rarely works to begin with. So they got about 14 minutes. In the end, it was Big Bossman pulling up the victory. Fine match, not terrible, but it was all right. So after that, for the WWF Championship, we had Sergeant Slaughter contending for the gold against the Ultimate Warrior. Now, this match sucked. This is coming from a Warrior fan, and I'm not hesitant to admit the fact that Warrior was not a good worker. You put him in there with guys like Hogan and Savage and sometimes Rick Rude, and you get yourself a very good match. Sergeant Slaughter was not one of those guys, and this was around the time that Sergeant Slaughter had a lot of heat for betraying the U.S. and siding with the Iraqis and the whole becoming an Iraqi sympathizer and whatever en route to WrestleMania, and they wanted him to become the biggest heel in the entire company. Now, whether people agreed with that or they didn't really feel like it was right to kind of incorporate that into the storylines is really all opinion-based. It's all subjective. But they did make a major heel out of him by putting the championship on him on this show, which they should have anyway. He didn't beat him clean. It was after Ultimate Warrior was screwed over by Randy Savage, and Randy Savage's, not fiance, but his manager, his valet at that time, Sensational Sherry, that's a tongue twister, had asked Warrior for a title match earlier on in the evening. He declined, thus warranting Savage getting involved in this contest, smashing the the stick, the king stick or whatever it is, over the head of the Warrior at the end of the match. Sergeant Slaughter took advantage, picked up the win, new world champion, a shocking title change. And so the match sucked, but the moment was there. It set the stage for WrestleMania for Sergeant Slaughter going in as champion, and then Warrior and Savage having their match at WrestleMania is still one of my favorite WrestleMania matches to this day. So match sucked, but a good angle though. After that, the Mountie taking on Koko Beware. A decent match. I believe this was right after the Mountie had debuted, so they were trying to build him up strongly with a win here. Fine for what it was. Really wasn't anything more than that. So after that, Ted DiBiase and Virgil taking on Dusty Rhodes and Dustin Runnels, or rather Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes and Dusty Rhodes. Goldust, rather. I completely forgot that he was with the company before the Goldust character. I know that he was Dustin Rhodes in WCW years later, or before this, or whenever, but I know he's had like a million runs with the company. But I completely forgot that he was in WWE before he debuted as Goldust 4 years later. Not the following year or a couple years later, 4 years later. But anyway, the match was all right. I was surprised they had the heels win considering Virgil turned babyface afterwards. And I figured that's where this was heading based off the pre-match video package. And they set up the match for WrestleMania over the $1 Million Championship and a rematch at SummerSlam. So they did a good job with that angle and getting people behind Virgil here and saying no to Ted DiBiase and officially turning him babyface after all these years. But to have the Rhodes family go over, or to have them lose here, was a bit mind-boggling. From what I've heard, they were leaving for WCW anyway, so I guess it makes sense why they didn't have them win. But it was weird for the heels, despite not being on the same page, to win here and then to turn on each other afterwards. It kind of felt pointless. But anyway, it was cool to see Dusty and Goldust team up. I can't remember the last time I saw that. Maybe they did it in WCW for a little while, but I don't think they ever did it in WWE beyond this point when he came back as Goldust. And maybe they did a Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes tag team maybe in '07, I want to say. I don't know if they've ever done it before. I'm not exactly sure. But it was cool to see that, though, and I hope they mentioned during the build that that Virgil was named after Dusty Rhodes. You know, his real name is Virgil, which was really the whole reason why he was called that to begin with, to take a shot at Dusty Rhodes when he was the booker of WCW. I doubt that was mentioned during the course of this feud, but it would have been cool if it was, though, considering that was the real reason behind it. So we get to the Royal Rumble match itself, the 1991 Rumble match. Not as many stories going on as the 90 Rumble match, but still a few here and there en route to WrestleMania 7. I think we had the furthering of the feud between Jake the Snake Roberts and Rick Martel. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Hogan, in the end, won for the second consecutive year by last eliminating the Earthquake, I believe it was, or maybe it was Typhoon. I'm pretty sure it was Earthquake. The Rumble match, that was good. Like I said, I'm always a sucker for stories being told here. Not as many here as there were in the year before, but it was still a very good Rumble for what it was, especially in comparison to the more recent ones. They just felt fun, and I would have had Hogan win this Rumble. That was a fine decision. I was completely okay with that. I just didn't really understand why he had to win in 90. They could have even easily given that win to either Mr. Perfect, who came in second, who was the runner-up that year, or the Ultimate Warrior, who contended for the title anyway at WrestleMania. So why they gave that win to Hogan when they were just going to have him win this year? I know they probably weren't planning ahead, but kind of felt pointless to have Hogan win both years. I mean, 91 it made sense because he went on to main event WrestleMania with Slaughter for the belt, and this was before the Rumble match was to earn a future title shot at WrestleMania. So, I don't know. But to have him win in 90 still makes no sense to me, but it made sense here considering he went on to contend for the championship at WrestleMania against Slaughter. So all in all, a good show. I thought the Rumble match was pretty good. I thought the title match sucked, but it was a big angle. You had the babyface turn of Virgil, an awesome opener. So I wouldn't necessarily call this a must-see show, but it's definitely noteworthy, and you would be missing out on a little if you didn't tune in. So like I said, you get a big title change, a big babyface turn, second consecutive victory in the Rumble match for Hulk Hogan becoming the first person to do so. And it was a decent Rumble match as well, and the rest of the matches on this card, Big Bossman, the Barbarian, Mountie, and Coco Beware weren't really anything special, but it did make for a good, solid show on the whole. So that is my review of Royal Rumble 1991. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Always appreciate it. If you want to support the show, be sure to follow me on Twitter at WrestleRant. Find me on Facebook. Give the page a thumbs up at facebook.com/Graham.Matthews. And be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. I'll be back on, I believe this is going up on Saturday, so my Royal Rumble 1992 review should be up on Tuesday. Or maybe it's the other way around. I honestly have no idea, but it will be up the next time the video goes up on Tuesday or Saturday. Whenever this is going up, my dates are all messed up. I'm doing this so far in advance, I have no idea. But anyway, my next video will be covering Royal Rumble 1992, which crowned, for the first time ever, the Rumble match crowned a new WWE champion. So exciting stuff, a great show, had fun watching it. We'll have fun reviewing it in my next video. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your week or weekend, depending on when this is going up. I'm Graham Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.